I can tell you right now, this is the best crowd we've had since we've been doing this. So thank you very much for being here. It's exciting to us for sure. The first thing that we always do here at the Hall of Fame ceremony is stand up and do the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, before we get going on the inductees, there's a bunch of people that kind of make all of this happen, and I want to give some recognitions out. The first group of people is our Mountie Hall of Fame Board of Directors. If you see them around, please thank them. And they'll all have shirts on just like I've got. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. But they do a great job. Their names are listed up here, and this is, believe it or not, kind of a year-round thing for us. Then finally, if you have any money that you'd like to donate, not afraid to ask that question. Find somebody in a blue shirt, Hall of Fame shirt, and give it to them. And we run this thing just off donations, everything we do. So anyways, I want to thank the Board of Directors. Also in attendance tonight, we have our school superintendent, Dr. Marlon Berry. Dr. Berry, over here, raise your hand. And then we also have school board members. We have Nathan Garahan and Mitch Lockhart. Really appreciate them coming and supporting the Hall of Fame ceremony. Also want to introduce Keith Kilgore, who's our athletic director. Thank him for being here. Some supporters behind the scenes. We have worked now for a couple of years to get an electronic kiosk, and if you didn't see it when you came in, it's right out here in this hallway, and it is impressive to say the least. We had gotten to where we were taking up too much physical space in the trophy cases, and the Hall of Fame doesn't need to be in the trophy case. Trophies need to be in the trophy case. And so we raised a lot of money, and there's a lot of people in this room who helped us do that, to where we could convert everything electronically onto the kiosk. And it's a touch screen just like your iPhone, and it is great. And so for those who are in the Hall of Fame, if you go click on your name and you don't see anything, please get us pictures, photos, videos, newspaper articles, whatever you can get to us, and we will get it on there. And so it's really a neat thing. But we were able to get that going because of Haley Cox, who's a teacher here at Rogers High School, and she recruited 2 students in the RHS internship program, and they are helping us out by earning community service hours by programming that thing. I don't think there's anybody on the board of directors that would have a clue on how to do something like that. And so these students have really worked hard to do that, to make that happen. And so I want to recognize them. Another thing before we start our ceremony that we always do is I want to recognize all of the Hall of Fame members who are here in attendance. So if you are a member of the Mountie Athletic Hall of Fame, I want you to stand up, please. Really appreciate y'all's support being here tonight. I was telling somebody earlier, this is as many Hall of Fame members as we've had here for this ceremony, so I'm extremely excited. Thanks for coming out and being here in support. The other thing that we always do is, this includes everybody, I need everybody to stand. We always want to honor our Hall of Fame members who are no longer with us anymore. So if we would please stand we're going to have a moment of silence in memory of them. Okay, thank you. So without further ado, we're going to start the induction of the class of 2018. We will, with this class, now have 79 members in the Athletic Hall of Fame. Our first presenter tonight is Coach Charlie Cooper, and I'm going to let him come up and introduce his inductee.
This piece of paper doesn't mean I'm going to say a lot. This means I don't remember it real well. It's a great honor to be here, and it's a great honor to be able to introduce the inductee that I have here tonight. And before I get into saying anything about him, I'm going to make 2 or 3 statements about attitude. And I think these things probably identify him more than anything else. You know, these are some things my wife is an avid reader, and she got this for me in our office. The longer I live, the more I realize the attitude's impact on life. It's more important than appearance, giftedness, or skill. And the remarkable thing about it is we have a choice every day of what kind of attitude we will have. I'm convinced now that life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you handle it. And this really signifies the young man I'm going to talk about. He epitomized what this hall represents. He went from an invited walk-on at the University of Arkansas to a full scholarship player. Now that might not sound like much, but that's a lot because it's very, very tough. Because an invited walk-on, the definition of that is they really didn't think he was quite good enough, so they wanted him to come down here and prove he could do it again. And that's very, very difficult. But he made that transition, he did it, and it takes a lot of courage, a lot of fortitude, a lot more than a lot of people have. When Chris was, after his freshman year at the University of Arkansas, he came back up at the school one day and we were sitting and talking. And I said, well, Chris, where are you at on the scholarship? He said, well, Coach, they haven't given me one yet. I said, well, and he said, Coach, I'm gonna need some money because it's expensive. I said, well, I'll tell you what, let's do. I said, the guy told me one time, never quit a job till you had another. I said, let's make a couple of phone calls here and see what we can find. So I made a call to Northeastern State, and they said he's got a full ride. Coach Spencer, who was Chris's track coach and football coach, he made a call to Pitt State, he got another full ride. So Chris had 2 aces in the hole when he went back down to the university to talk to him. And I think that gave him a lot more confidence in how to handle the situation. And you know, attitude basically is a result of your surroundings. Your surroundings are really the responsibility of your parents. His parents, Bob and Sandy, did a remarkable job of bringing him up. Plus, Chris had another gentleman in his life that had a lot of influence on him, Brother Ben Rowley. I don't know whether Ben's here tonight or not, but he had a lot of influence on him. So it's without any further ado, with great pride, I give you this young man to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. He's a tremendous recipient, Chris Chalmers.
I'm not sure that there's but a handful of people in here who understand how much this means to me. And I'm going to try to make this brief. I've got a handful of people that I need to thank. It starts out with the selection committee. I appreciate you voting me on. I appreciate Andrew Hatfield for taking the time to nominate me. I know there's a lot of work there. And then it starts with my coaches. And I'm going to go as far back and start with somebody who's sitting up on this stage, Benny Bridwell. Benny got a hold of us when we were all about 6, 7 years old. And then it went to a guy named Phil Hatfield. And then it went on into junior high with Gerald Walsh, Bob White, Randall Backus. And then into high school with Coach Cooper, who we've already seen, Coach Alan Spencer, Coach Winton, who's around here somewhere, Coach Bill Niven. Those people had such a tremendous influence on my life. Each one of the people I named, there was something that I took with me on each step of the way. And Coach Cooper talked about going to the University of Arkansas. And I've told him this, but people like Coach Bridwell and the others I mentioned, Phil Hatfield, Coach Walsh, Coach White, those guys set things in motion, and they taught discipline, they taught effort. Coach Cooper talked about attitude. But when Coach Cooper came here, he was the one that finished the job that they all started. And make no mistake, if it wasn't for Charlie Cooper, I would not have accomplished what he talked about at the University of Arkansas. I grew up wanting to be a Rogers Mountie, sitting on the white fence up there at Gates Stadium, hanging out with my buddies, watching the ball games. I looked up to people like Brian Jackson, Matt Purrier, Thad Warren, great players here. But the one difference was I said, you know what? I want to be a Mountie just like those guys, but I want to be better than those guys. And that was kind of how I was wired. I feel like now kids are so concerned about where I'm going to go to college. We have a kid in the little town I live in, of Bryan, Arkansas, who's in the 9th grade. He's already been offered a scholarship in baseball to the University of Arkansas. That's tremendous and phenomenal, and he's a great athlete. But I think we're skipping the step of what it is to be a high school athlete. And that's what meant so much to me. I wanted to hear Brother Ben Rao call my name over the loudspeaker. I wanted to get interviewed on Kerm Radio and be asked, hey, tell me who your mom and dad are. You know? And speaking of my mom and dad, if any of y'all have an athlete out there and you want to know how to raise them, go see Bob and Sandy Chalmers. Because they wrote the book on how to do it. And it's real simple. It's two things. It's play as hard as you can and have a great attitude. Effort and attitude, those are two things that will never get old and never go out of style. So, in closing, Alan Spencer used to say this to me all the time. He'd say, be pleased, but never satisfied. Be pleased, but never satisfied. After tonight and this experience, I feel like now I can say, you know what, when it comes to my high school career at Rogers High School, and my athletics here, I'm satisfied. Thank you.
Okay, before we get to the next inductee, I saw our two high school students in the back. I see Trey Hoskins here, and I don't think I mentioned their names, but the two students who have been doing the kiosk for us are Anthony Mendez and Hayden Hoskins. If y'all can hear me and you're out in the commons, you can come in here and take a bow here in a minute. But those two kids are the ones that have been helping us with the kiosk, and I saw them run out there just a second ago. Okay, our next presenter tonight is Coach Carlton Eford.
Well, I'm really excited to get the first cross-country runner inducted into the Mountaineer Hall of Fame, and really excited to do this. I started coaching back in 1988. I took over for Grimsley Graham, who had a very successful team. He had been runner-ups for the previous 2 years before I started, so I inherited a hungry group of guys. And out of the 12 guys that were on that team, Troy was definitely the leader that pushed everyone in practice every day. I think Troy only had one speed, and that was all out. I would say I was experimenting on those guys in my first year of coaching, first couple of years of coaching. I probably tortured them quite a bit. We ran 7 days a week, and because that's what we did when I ran for Coach McDonald at the University of Arkansas. And just like now, O'Shaughnessy put the Razorbacks on the map, for Arkansas, I feel like Troy Kirby put the Mounties on the cross-country map, in Arkansas. He led our team to its first 2 state championships by winning the individual titles in 1988 and 99. And that started a tradition that is now 19 state championships strong on the boys' side and 17 on the girls' side. His most impressive title was in 1989, when the year before, Brian Baker, who was an outstanding runner in the state of Arkansas, set the course record at 14:50 in Arkadelphia, and it was a 3-mile course. And all the coaches were saying, oh man, that record's never going to be broken. That's going to last forever. Well, it stood for 1 year, because Troy came out the next year, and he only, like I said, only knew one speed. He put the hammer down, went out 4:40 for his first mile, and no one was willing to go with him. and ended up running a 14:40 state meet record on that course in Arkadelphia to beat Brian Baker's record by over 10 seconds. And the team scored 22 points that year, which in cross country is pretty low. 15 is the low score. And I've ranked that team up there as one of the best that I've ever coached. And I kind of want to tell a funny story about Troy, because after he won that and set that time, we decided we wanted to go to the Foot Locker Midwest Regional Cross Country Championships up in Kenosha, Wisconsin. And so what do you do when you need money? Call Whitey Smith, right? So we got Whitey Smith to do a chicken cookout. We raised about $1,500, and we flew into Wisconsin. And when we got there, we were going to run that course, and there was 6 inches of snow on the course, and the people were cross-country skiing on this day. And I'm looking at Troy thinking, what are we got ourselves into? We had 1/4-inch spikes, which I'm thinking we got to do something different, but couldn't find any more before the race started. And kids that were there that ran in that kind of weather had probably 1/2-inch spikes, Bill. And it was a disaster, to say the least. The race didn't turn out very good, but I was a young coach, and trust me, I took spikes every year. Just prepare for that if it ever happened again. But I think the cool thing about Troy is since he has graduated, he has served the city of Rogers as a police officer. And I got pulled over many years ago for speeding in town. What do you like, Coach Cooper? Not on the school bus this time. But anyway, and I was so thankful to see a friendly face. Troy pulled me over, and I thought he was going to get even for all those torturous workouts that I put him through over the years, but he was kind enough to give me a warning. So I appreciated that. And I just want to quote what Andrew Boyer said, and he was on that team with him, Jeremy Cox. I think I saw him out here tonight. And he said, Troy took the attributes that made him a successful runner and used them to continue to serve and lead by becoming a police officer in Rogers. I think the focus, drive, and relentless pursuit of winning that made him a great runner was the perfect combination of characteristics to carry him into that position of public service. I'm proud and honored to introduce Troy Kirby, first cross-country runner inducted to the Mountaineer Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Coach Eater. Appreciate that. I'd like to start by thanking President Jackson and the rest of the board, the Hall of Fame board, for not only inducting me today, but also for everything they do for the Mounties and for the program that where they've come here. I never knew there was a Hall of Fame until just a few years ago. Coach Eater was actually inducted in the Hall of Fame. It was the first time I found it. So I'd also like to take just a minute to kind of thank the staff, for the high school staff for putting everything together. I know we all know that nothing could run without those people that work behind the scenes and kind of prepare everything to make the Hall of Fame board members look good and to make everybody else look good. I'd like to thank Coach Eifert again for nominating me. Again, it's not an easy process, and I know it takes time and effort. I'd like to thank Andrew Boyd and Jeremy Cox for their support. I'd like to congratulate the inductees along with myself. I'm truly honored that I can share this experience with you. I'd like to also thank my family and friends for showing up here today, and the family and friends of everybody else that's being inducted here today. We do appreciate you taking your time out to experience this with us. Most importantly, I'd like to thank God for everything He's given me in my life. Starting with my parents, Dwayne Kirby and Sue Barnhart, who have always supported me in everything I've done in life. They taught me to work hard and to try my best at everything I do. It was obvious early in life that I was not going to be a football player or a basketball player like my dad. But in the 11th grade, Coach Williams introduced me to long distance running. This kind of got me the running bug, and I kind of experienced that runner's high for the first time. Then it was probably Coach Jim White who gave me the next urge of encouragement, because I tried out for the basketball team in the 9th grade. And he simply came up to me and said, Troy, I don't know that basketball is the best fit. Maybe if you go into off-season football and work on your running, that might help you a lot better. It was probably the best shove off anybody's ever given me for anything in life. So thank you for that, Coach White. In high school, I did try out for the cross-country team, and I remember vividly Coach Grimley Grant coming up to me and said, "Troy, I believe you have the potential to make this varsity team. It's just how bad you want it and how hard you try." And from that point forward, I decided to put everything I had into running, and so I could make that team and be the best runner I could. So in the 11th grade, I was introduced to this young head coach, Carlton Eford, who was only a couple years older than the rest of us. And we were all probably a little skeptical about what this young guy's doing and how he's going to take this program that Coach Graham has built. But we learned quickly that he did know what he was doing. Not that in those first couple of years there were a few hiccups, but I'm not going to go into that tonight because we may be here for a while. For me, it seemed that he knew exactly what to say to get me motivated to do what I needed to do, and the workouts that he provided are the exact thing that I needed so I could reach my full potential. Also during that year, there was a volunteer coach, Andrew Woodring, who really helped me with kind of the mental aspect of running. He kind of taught me to kind of push past the pain and to find that different gear. He also taught me to kind of get in the head of my opponents by psyching them out. And the most common method he would often teach would be that right after you finish going up a strong uphill climb, you just kind of take off, and that way everybody else is just kind of freaked out that it didn't bother you at all. This strategy, it proved really helpful and effective. So I'd also like to thank all my teachers. In high school, I was not a great student. The last thing I wanted to do would be attend class, but they did plant a seed that was sprouted later. I went to college for a couple of years, joined the military. I went back to school and got a degree in criminal justice. And those last 2 years, I was actually honored by being on the dean's list. So I thank those teachers for that, because it was because of them that I was able to achieve that. I had a lot of fun and several memories, in my running career. I think the kind of the most memorable moment that I had was a couple days after the state meet, my senior year. I overheard my dad talking on the phone to somebody, and I'm not sure who he was talking to, but I could hear pride in his voice. He'd simply say that not only did I win the meet, but I set the course record, which means that I not only ran it faster, ran it faster that day, but I've ran it faster than anybody else has in the past. In my life, I've always tried to make my family proud, and I still do today on anything I do or try to accomplish. Since high school and running, I've been very blessed. I have a lot of good friends, 2 wonderful kids, 5 perfect grandkids. Most importantly, my wonderful wife, Lena, who is truly my best friend and partner in life. So, in closing, President Johnson, Rogers Mountaineer Athletic Hall of Fame, I do thank you very much.
Okay, our next presenter this evening is Coach J.R. Wynn.
It is an awesome deal to get to come back to Arkansas and mainly Rogers, Arkansas. Feels like home, seeing so many people I haven't seen in a long time. It's really an honor to get to be here, and a huge honor for me to get to present. Coach Eford said the first cross-country guy. It's probably going to be the first, in my eyes. He's an offensive lineman. Ryan is an offensive lineman to me. And so I thought I would explain that really quick. The older I get, I realize what talent it takes to play any sport at college. And it's probably not even until just recently that I thought, man, Ryan was really good at baseball. He had to be. He got to go play at the University of Arkansas. That all didn't register with me. He played center for me on the offensive line. And when you think about, that going, in baseball, everybody gets to see what you do and everybody's got stats and this and that. There are no stats for Ryan as far as the position that he played for us because we didn't keep any. The only person that knew if he did any good was probably me, and Coach Cooper would let me know if he didn't do pretty good too. But I mean, for Ryan was playing tight end and we needed a center. And I was like, there's no way he's gonna wanna do that. You don't get to catch the ball. But I said, hey, you're gonna get to touch the ball every play. Every play you get to touch the ball. The other advantage that he had, being an offensive lineman, is on Tuesday nights we would go to our house to eat. My wife would cook for all the offensive linemen. There was a lot of days that I wouldn't be real happy when Ryan was learning his new position, and there was a learning curve that kind of went along with that. So there was days that I wasn't necessarily pleased, and usually on those days, on a Tuesday, which was heavy work day, Ryan showed up at my house before I got there. He and Wise, almost like my wife was saying, "Why are you so mean to Ryan?" And he had her wrapped around his, just wrapped right there. He also worked with her as a teacher's aide every day. So I mean, Ryan is like family, and so I'm glad nobody, didn't expect me to come up with a bunch of statistics because I don't have any. The best thing that I can tell you is we have a great relationship. And as I get older and got out of coaching, I realized that is the key to the whole thing. That's the only stat that matters. I've always wanted to have a center like Ryan. He was like a basketball player. I've always wanted somebody said, if you coach a center, it's like a basketball player. That's like a dream. I mean, they get to move and they get to block people that can run and that kind of thing. So, I mean, it was a dream for me, up until he got injured. When he got injured, he was right there with me. He kept up with me on crutches, which was almost impossible for a lot of people not on crutches. I moved around a lot. And he helped me, with players that we were trying to develop when he was not able to play. I mean, that is truly a teammate. The last thing that I'm going to say about Ryan is that, I started a fishing team in Oklahoma and bought some jerseys from Ryan last year and got talking to him. This is probably the best thing that can be said about him to this day. The thing that, to me, the only thing that really matters is every time that I talk to him, he's talking about his wife, his sons, his family. I mean, that's just a great thing. You can tell that he's a great dad. And probably as I've gotten older, I've got to see kids graduate and get, married and have kids. It is so awesome to see a young guy turn into a great dad. And that's exactly what we have, Ryan Fox.
Everybody up here, every athlete knows that you got a handful of coaches that really make an impact on your life, not only athletic, but in your life. And Coach Whitten was definitely in that handful of mine. I've had a lot of them, and his lovely wife Polly is not kidding. I wish I had some more of those Tuesday meals. She was awesome, always brought us in, treated us like sons. So I can't thank him enough coming from Oklahoma to come do this. Those of you in the Rogers School District know my family. They've been around forever. Just kind of want to hit on them a little bit. They're the reason I'm up here, the main reason I'm up here. Grew up in the middle of two sisters who, without a doubt, is the sole reason I've got my toughness. They hit it perfect. They would, it's like all my coaches used to say, somebody comes in, pushes you a little bit, you do it second, you don't get the flag. Well, they figured that out. We get home from school, they'd come gang up on me. I'd lose my temper, I'd start going at them, and bam, mom or dad walked through the door. They had it down to a science, but without them, I wouldn't be where I am. Can't think enough about them. My parents, my mom, her calmness, the rock of this family. Those of you who know my mom and dad, there's they're about as different as they can be, but when they come together, they gel, and to have them, the support growing up, I can't say enough about that. My dad was my coach for most of my years of playing growing up, football, baseball, so you know, he is in that, and he's in the handful, top of that handful of guys that have made a difference in my life, without a doubt. Just briefly want to touch on, you know, what Coach talked about as far as getting hurt. At 18 going into the season, you know, I've always been told and have been told that, you know, God has a plan, God has a reason. It's a little bit harder to understand that at 18 when he took my senior year away from me, or I got injured. It was a very, very depressing time, dark time. I thought that, you know, I was getting some offers to maybe go play both sports in college, to do both. At that time, when that happened, I had to reflect, and I ended up really focusing on baseball and got to do all my attention to baseball, which without a doubt made me a better baseball player and gave me some of the opportunities, gave me the opportunity to go to U of A, gave me the opportunity to get fortunate enough to get drafted by the Rockies and play 8 seasons. So I know without the injury in football that would have never happened. So as you look back, he does have, he has a way of working and it all working out. And the most important thing in that whole thing is that, as Coach talked, I am a family man, and it led me to my wife, who I met at Arkansas, and gave me 2 beautiful boys. So I can't be upset about that at all. I just want to thank a few people that have came out. I want to thank Rob and Tanya Husted for coming out. Rob Husted is the one that started this whole ball rolling with the getting inducted, so I can't thank them enough. I want to thank Cole and Natalie Bailey for coming out, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, and Clayton back there in the back. I want to thank Kyle and Lindsay Rolliard, sister and brother-in-law, Kyle Roach, Tara Roach, my niece and nephew Hudson and Kinsey, my parents, like I've talked about, wouldn't be here without them, and then my lovely wife, Jackson and Beckett, my 2 boys, mean the world to me. Would like to thank the board of directors for this great honor, which I will not take lightly, and I'm very, very thrilled to have. We couldn't be more thankful and humble to be up here with the other inductees. So I appreciate it, and thank you for having me.
Okay, our next presenter will be Coach Benny Bridwell.
Good evening. It's my privilege to introduce the next inductee to the 2018 Rogers Hall of Fame, Kim Damley. Kim moved to Rogers his senior year and played for us. And we had a championship team. We were undefeated. We were 11-0 and got beat in the quarterfinals by Jonesboro. But Kim was an integral part of that. And it took a lot of courage to move from Bentonville to Rogers his senior year, or to move anywhere his senior year. Kim was a big part, his dad was a big part of my life. He was my high school coach, and without him, I probably wouldn't have gone to college. But Kim was our quarterback. When the football season was over, there was no hesitation. He put on basketball shoes. He was our point guard, averaged double figures in basketball. And then, after basketball was over with, he put on track spikes and ran in 5 events every night that we had a track meet. Kim was probably one of the best overall athletes that I had the opportunity to coach. And he would have been here tonight, but he is the head coach at Eastern Illinois, and they play Tennessee State tomorrow, so that explains everything there. His family, his daughter is here, and I would like for them to stand, daughter and son-in-law and family, I would like them to stand, please. The only credit that I think I could even take with Kim was the fact that when he was 3 years old, he and Kelly, his older brother, would be on one end of the basketball court and we'd be on the other practicing, but we would find time to roll the ball and try and knock Kim down. So he got his elusiveness, we like to think, from us, from trying to knock him down on the other end of the basketball court. But I know Kim would say this. He would tell you that the biggest influence in his life was certainly his mother and dad, Dick and Gail Dameron, and his brother Kelly as well. But there was not, we had a good group of athletes his senior year. We had a group of overachievers. And as coaches, first thing you want people to do is overachieve. And they overachieved for 11 games, 11 weeks. In most cases, they were not as big or physical as the teams that we were playing, but they overachieved. And that's one of the things that you look for as coaches, is people who can overachieve night after night. Kim in track finished in the top 10 in decathlon. Now, I'm not sure, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but I'm not sure that you're going to find 3-sport athletes anymore in today's environment. There's so much specialization anymore that I'm not sure you're going to find it. I'm not being critical of that. I'm just saying that the 3-sport athlete may be done. And I've been officiating football, basketball, and track for the last 35 years in Northwest Arkansas, and I can tell you that Kim was one of the best. I don't want to put the best on there because that would be unfair to him, but he was one of the best that I ever saw compete. And he had a teammate that was the same way. They competed against each other every day in practice, football and or basketball, track. And it was a pleasure to coach both of them at the same time. But again, I wish everybody would recognize Kim for his abilities and what he's done.
Good evening. I want to apologize for not being there tonight, but a little busy tonight coaching a football game. But I really appreciate y'all allowing me to do this via video. I'm Kim Dameron. Right now I'm the head football coach at Eastern Illinois University, but I was a former athlete at Rogers High School. And I want to thank the Rogers High School Athletic Hall of Fame, the board members, all the former inductees for giving me this honor of being able to be elected into the Rogers High School Hall of Fame. I want to say congrats to all the other inductees tonight for the class of 2018. For me personally, that was 40 years ago that I played at Rogers, and it was a magical year. I had a lot of people to thank. I want to first off thank my family, the original Coach Dameron, my dad, Coach Dameron, Dick Dameron. He coached me from Little League to all the way up into high school, and without him, there's no telling, where I would be. But also my mother being a teacher, she's been my ultimate teacher and remains to this day. My dad still remains my biggest coach to this day. And so I want to say special thanks to them. My brother Kelly, I grew up watching my brother Kelly play all the sports that I ended up playing in high school. And it was a great learning experience because I got to see the goods and the bad of playing high school athletics and high school sports, my dad being a coach and my brother being a player. And so I want to say a special thanks to him. He taught me a lot and still to this day continues to teach me, and he's been a heck of a success, running major corporations and all that. So there's been a lot of coaches there at Rogers that that I want to thank. Obviously, Blackie Bond, head football coach, was somebody that meant a lot to me and gave me an opportunity to come over and join a team that was a heck of a team the year before. Believe me, I know when I was playing at Bentonville, I had to play them. And so I want to thank him. I want to thank Benny Bridwell for basketball. I want to thank Barney Hayes and track. There was also a number of assistant coaches. Bo Brown or Bo Black, Larry Melson, Ron Reed. A lot of guys that were big in the sports there at the time. Also, Coach Kruger, Mark Kruger, who's probably helped me also in this endeavor, being able to get this information back for the banquet tonight. I want to especially thank the Smith family, Whitey Smith, Janice, and of course Tim. Tim and I competed against each other some and with each other in a lot of ways, and so we've obviously remained friends till today, and just want to thank that family for when I came to Rogers as a high school senior. They were very gracious and very accepting, and so spent a lot of time with them. Actually, Whitey hired me to work at Ozark Fence, and so I worked that summer at Ozark Fence with Tim and got to know them very well. Spent some time at their pool and just had a great summer leading up into our senior year. Once August hit my senior year of high school, it was really a magical time. We started out in August. Football practice, that's always tough, two-a-days and all that. But our hard work was paid off with an 11-1 season. Just a magical time. It was great to be accepted by the teammates that I had at Rogers. Obviously, a new guy coming in. I had been there in the spring a little bit, but really it was big for me to be able to join that team. And one thing I want everybody to understand about that 78 team was we were a team. It was not one person. It was not, we had a senior laden backfield and all the skill positions. We had a heck of an offensive line. We had a great tight end offensively, but probably the unsung hero to that season was our defense. Our defense played extremely well, and of course, now in my career of being defensive coordinator and playing defense in college and all that, at the time, I'm sure I didn't give them the credit they deserved, but now looking back, I know how important they were to our success. And not only that, but the kicking game and just everything came together that year for a magical season, and we were able to string 11 wins together before getting beat in the playoffs. And then that momentum just rolled right into basketball, and Coach Bridwell and the basketball team and the guys that we played. We had 5 seniors that played quite a bit and some underclassmen, and so that was a heck of a time, and it was very enjoyable for me because actually my first love was basketball. My dad being a basketball coach, and I just never, I guess when I hit 5'9", I quit growing, and there went my basketball career. But and then after basketball, we went on into track like we always did. There's no off seasons. We were just always competing at something. And, went into track and had some success running the hurdles and long jumping. And that was, we had, a heck of a track team. And then at the end, Tim Smith and I were able to go down and run in the state decathlon together. And that's something that I'll always remember. That for me, track was something that I always loved to do, even though it was just, it was running, but it was just something that was in me, instilled in me by my father at a young age. And so being able to play that year on the football team, the basketball team, the track team, and be a contributor in all of those was a magical time. And I couldn't imagine my senior year of high school being any better. I tell people a lot, I've been in football since I was 8 years old. And so I've been through a lot of great seasons and played for a lot of great coaches and coached a lot of great kids and all that. But I tell people a lot that if I had to choose one year, that I would choose the 1978-79 school year, because to me that was the most magical time of my life. Now, little did I know that after that, 5 months later, I'd be starting as a defensive back against Texas A&M to have a share of the Southwest Conference title for the Razorbacks. But you know, that all ended up being a fairy tale also, and something that that I'll always treasure. You know, being able to start against A&M and play, and then start in the Sugar Bowl even though we didn't win, and then my career there at Arkansas, and then being able to go into coaching, and then being able to play 1 year. I played 1 year in the USFL as a receiver, defensive back, and so there's been a lot of things in my life that I'm very blessed to have been able to do in the realm of athletics, and especially with football. But the one thing I want, I think, everybody to know more than anything is that year, my senior year in high school, our senior year in high school, I played with some of the best guys that have ever been around, and we played on some of the best teams that I've ever been on. And those are memories that I'll never forget. So in closing, I just want to say thank you so much for allowing me to do this long distance. But I do want to make sure that you know how honored I am, and how happy this makes me to be able to be inducted into the 2018 class at Rogers High School Athletics Hall of Fame. Thank you very much.
And then I also wanted to publicly thank Kim for going through this, and he was able to meet with Mr. Kruger before they played the Razorbacks. And most of all, I want to thank him for letting the Razorbacks beat them, because that may be our only one that we get this year. So you just want to get that out there too. So Kim's done a lot for us here via long distance. Okay, our next presenter is Dr. Tom Woodruff.
I'd like to congratulate all of the inductees this year into the Hall of Fame. And Ryan Fox was one of the best pitchers that ever came out of Rogers High School. He led several categories in both offensively and was one heck of a pitcher. Congratulations. 6 of the 7 honorees tonight are given credit for their athleticism. But the next one's unique because it's for distinguished service. However, he did play baseball and basketball, and he's a graduate of Rogers High School in 1954. In 1960, Dale Bland, who is a former Hall of Famer here, asked Ted Givers to help him with football stats. And that began a service lasting nearly 3 decades of volunteerism for Mountaineer athletics. His family runs Mountie Blue, bleeds Mountie Blue. His wife, Joyce, was a district secretary, treasurer for 2 superintendents, Greer Lingle and Frank Tillery. And his son, John, graduated from Rogers High School in 1985. Now, Ted, today, since 2001, has become a substitute teacher at Rogers High School. And he's probably holds the longest tenured position there as a substitute. He says that he will continue to substitute teach as long, Dr. Valines, as he can climb those steps to the 2nd floor, because he refuses to use the elevator. Ted is a self-proclaimed recycled teenager. He received many letters of recommendations, and I'd like to share a few of those with you. One stated that Ted flies the Mountie flag every day in front of his house year-round. Another one says that for many years without pay, he traveled, never missed a game, home and away, to serve as a statistician for the Rogers High School football team. Another one states what he admired most about Mr. Givers is that he serves Mountaineer athletics today unselfishly because he has no son involved, he has no daughter involved, and no grandchildren. Another one states a former player in 1977 says that what he remembers most about Ted Givers is every time he would come off the field, he was the first one to compliment that player. What a job well done he did. But I think what best describes Ted Givers is what another one wrote in a letter, and it said this: if there was a Mount Rushmore of Mountaineer supporters, Ted Givers' face would be there. Please welcome Ted Givers.
All right. I brought me a crowd. Did y'all see this? Once a Mountie, always a Mountie. I'm probably the oldest person in this auditorium tonight, but I'm probably the happiest. It's really a high honor to get this award tonight, and I want to thank the Mountie Athletic Hall of Fame staff for bestowing this on me. And I want to thank the individuals that wrote letters. So they must have had something good to say about me. And I'm very thankful to them. For many years, approximately 20 years, I was on the stat team with Dale Bland, who is an inductee. And he asked me when I got home from the Army in 1960 if I'd help him. And I said I would, because Dale was my best friend. And so every Friday night for 20 years, I helped Dale keep statistics. And I don't think we ever missed a Friday night during that 20 years. And Dale had a longer dedication than I did. I think he did about 30 years, didn't he, Ann? Right, okay. I remember one night during a Mountie football game, and our field then was where the post office is now. A flock of geese landed on the field. I don't know whether it was the first half or second half, but it was a large flock. I guess they were migrating, going south. It was probably maybe in November. And they landed on that field, and boy, it was chaotic to see those referees run around and try to get those geese off that field. And they finally took off. So that was quite a deal for them geese to intrude on us. And one time we were at a football game in Springfield, Missouri, playing, I think, Central. And this one particular referee, I can't remember if he was a head lineman, but he would, after a down, he never would spot the ball in a place we thought one of our guys went down on it. He was always about a foot short. But we was on him all night. And he finally got tired of us, talking about him. He walked over there, and one of the timeouts, he said, "Guys, you're going to have to calm down or you're going to get out of here." So he was fixing to throw us out of there. So we had to be good boys from then on. So another incident happened when I was in high school here. In 1952, they were building then it was called Kirksey Gym, and it was over there on Walnut Street, where our high school was. And it was about done. They had the basketball goals up. And we were not supposed to go in there at any time whatsoever. And we got warned about it. So one day at noon, 2 or 3 of us players went in there and started shooting free throws. And lo and behold, our principal followed us. He saw us going in there, and he said, "Boys, come on over to my office." So we went over there, and he administered about 10 licks. And when he hits you, he raised you up off the floor. And he was a former lineman in the NFL. So now I'm doing what I want to do for a long time. I substitute here at Rogers High School. And I want to pay back the city that gave me a lot of good memories. You know, give something back to the city that I was raised in. So that's why I'm doing that. I've been doing it like 17 years now, and I've never had a better job. It's very rewarding, and you'd be surprised how good teachers we have here, and how many good students we have. They're really, really good students. I don't have any discipline problems with them. I think they probably think I'm their grandpa. So I want to give a special thanks to Dr. Woodruff for spearheading my nomination, and I'm probably going to be a substitute the rest of my life because of that. He keeps me going. Now I got a bunch of family members here that I like to mention, and I don't know whether they'll want to stand up or not. Now, my wife Joyce is here, and my son John, and he played basketball here, and he was a manager of the basketball team at one time. And Ann Bland, there's Ann. She's a retired teacher from Elmwood, and her husband, deceased Dale, was my buddy, keeping stats all those years. My sister-in-law, Jenny Jones, she graduated from RHS in 1960, is that right? I got that right? Okay, good. And Becky Jones Gifford, she graduated in 1983. She was an athlete. Courtney Gifford, okay. And Colby, where's Colby? He's back. Okay, good to see you, Colby. Okay, Amy Lou Jones Trickett. She graduated in 1985 with my son John. She was an athlete also. And Mike, her husband, Lear. And Sydney, she's my niece. Hi, Sydney. And Caitlin, another niece, okay. And then where's Brad? He's back there too. All right. So that's my family, and I thank everybody for this induction today. I couldn't believe it when Mark Kruger called me one night and said, "You're in it," and I almost passed out. I mean, I couldn't believe it. So thanks a lot, and go Mounties, okay?
Okay, so I'm sitting up here, I'm remembering things. If there are Hall of Fame members, all the Hall of Fame members that are here, Sean, where is that notebook? Sean Lee, Dr. Sean Lee right there, has a binder, and it has your name, address, emails, those kinds of things. If you could please take the time to find him and check your information. We want to be able to keep sending you information, and that goes for spouses, everybody that has a member in their family in the Hall of Fame. We want to make sure we've got correct contact info. Our next presenter is Coach Brian Little.
Good evening. I would like to begin, as most have, by saying thank you to the Mountie Hall of Fame president and board members and all of the other members of that Hall of Fame who are present, as well as these new inductees. It's quite an awesome experience to see something like this recognize and honor men and women of all generations, especially after hearing Mr. Givers. That was great. Thank you for that. I hope that you will oblige me here as I read some from what I wrote to the board for a recommendation for Cody Kirby to have this opportunity. If I were to talk to you like I do on a regular basis, you might be offended because, see, I deal with high school students every day. And so the conversation might not go like it should. And so I'll try to be a little more professional and certainly want to take this opportunity to present Cody in a light that, as I reflected in doing this, was very inspirational to me. And I hope that what maybe you can take away from this short presentation is impact. I think that's the word that really sticks out to me as I went through this process, is impact. I am honored to have the opportunity to share with you my recollection of the high school athletic journey of Cody Kirby and the many reasons that he is more than deserving of this induction. As one of his former coaches here at Rogers High School in the early 2000s, we went to battle together many times. And the relationship between an offensive coordinator and a quarterback is pretty close. And I've seen his work ethic. I've seen his determination. I've seen his grit. He embodied all the qualities of high character and leadership. And he overcame some obstacles along the way to reach the highest level of success a high school athlete can. He was a proud and worthy Mountaineer, I can assure you. Now, while serving as a Mountie football coach at the turn of the century, I like to say that because it sounds like I'm a little older than maybe I am, but in the early 2000s as a Mountie football coach, I can recall hearing that a young athlete, 8th grader at the time, by the way, was going to move to Rogers. Well, this rumor was confirmed when Cody's father decided he would share a highlight film of his son. I think it might have been a 7th grade football highlight film. Now, if you're a coach in high school at a level like Rogers, 7A West, Arkansas, the SEC of high school football, you're not too enamored by this because it happens more often than you might know. Well, the video, after seeing it, it was pretty evident that Cody's prowess on the field was evident. So as the start of the next school year began, Cody joined the football program at Oakdale Junior High School, and he immediately became a contributing factor. After 2 successful years at Oakdale, Cody was prepared to join the Mountie football program and compete for the job of quarterback. Well, he quickly proved a viable option for the job as a sophomore. Unfortunately, he sustained an ankle injury that sidelined him for much of his first season as a Mountie. Now, after a vigorous offseason and rehabilitation to the ankle, Cody was prepared to take the reins for his junior year. Had we known what would unfold next, we would not have believed it. Soon into his junior season, Cody severely injured his other ankle. Ending his ability to play again that year. The stage was now set for a final season that would go down in Rogers Mountie football history. Cody once again spent the offseason rehabbing his ankle. He also began rallying the troops to impart his desire for the team to unite like never before and become the best they could be. Cody would show up early, stay late. He would do extra work beyond that which was required. He would encourage and insist that his teammates do the same and had a way of compelling them to do so without resistance. As fate would have it, the 2006 Mountie football team, led by a healthy Cody Kirby, would produce a nearly flawless record with a 7A West Conference championship and a trip to the state finals, where the season would end in heartbreak with a loss and a 12-1 record to my alma mater. Cody had an impact on Rogers High School football, the school community, and the Rogers community during his athletic career. I coached football for over 20 years This is the start of the 4th season that I've been out of coaching football. A mentor of mine told me that I had an impact on kids through the game of football, but when he asked me how many kids attended the high school altogether, and it was more than 4 times the number of kids playing football, he encouraged me and reminded me that I now have an opportunity to impact 4 times as many young lives. That meant a lot to me. Cody impacted me in a way that he may never know, and I think that's one thing as coaches we sometimes fail to do, is remind these athletes how big of an impact they are on us. Cody Kirby's high school football journey was an inspiration to many and a testament to his commitment, determination, character, and work ethic. I can honestly say that no single athlete in memory more completely embodies the qualities of ultimate champion like Cody Kirby.
Let me gather myself for a moment. You know, when I read the time that they said, only supposed to take 5 minutes, it's not like, my goodness, how does one capture a career in 5 minutes? Well, I'm going to do my best, and particularly talk about some individuals who have been instrumental in my development and who I am. And first on that list would be my mom and dad. As Coach Little had said, I actually grew up in Marion, Arkansas until my 7th grade year. I had a passion for playing football, and I wanted to make it to the next level. Well, the thing was, at Marion, they had a running style offense. They weren't very successful. My parents knew that if I was going to have a good shot at making it to the next level, probably wasn't going to be at Marion. And I remember, if we go back, this is my 7th grade year, my parents took me to Wynne, Arkansas, to watch a semifinal playoff game against the Wynne Yellow Jackets versus the Monticello Billies. And this was in front of a crowd of roughly 4,000 to 5,000, to which at the time it was electric. I had never seen anything like it. And I remember telling my parents that I want to play in this type of atmosphere. And just to put this in context, so my mom and dad are both teachers. My dad used to coach as well. My dad had just been given the head baseball coaching job at Marion, something he'd work a number of years to earn. And my mom had just been given an opportunity at one of the brand new schools that had opened up. And she was a team leader. She had a wonderful classroom. She was all set. Yet, they were willing to walk away from it all. For me. And while I can't imagine how difficult that decision was, many blessings have come from being able to be at Rogers Mountie. And one of those is to be able to play under some of the finest coaches and men that I've ever known, one of which is Coach Little, who just spoke. His embodiment of what it means to be a leader, to be passionate about his craft, to be a godly man, a husband, and a father, has always impacted me, far more than just the game of football. And I wasn't going to tell a story, but I've just got to tell this because he was always so good at knowing what to say and how to say it in the right moments. And I'll give you some context. So this was my senior year, and we were playing Van Buren. And at the time, we were undefeated, and Van Buren hadn't won a game at this point. And we get up to the first half, and after one half of play, the score was 3-0. Van Buren was beating us, and everyone was stunned.
I don't even think Coach Little went into the field house. No one said hardly anything. And I'm like, my goodness, okay. Who's going to say what? Let's just try to get it together. So we come out, and we're about to start the second half. And you got to know, Coach Little has this glare. I mean, there's like laser beams coming out of his eyes, and he had this stance, and this was it. And he didn't move from this stance. And I'm standing right next to him. I'm like, well, surely he's going to say something sometime. And he's standing like this, and he turns to me. I don't think he grabbed me by the face mask, but he stuck his hand and he said, listen to me. You're the best quarterback in the state. Act like it. To which we proceeded to go out and score 49 unanswered points and won the game handle. It was just a testament of him knowing his players and the close relationship that he spoke about as well. And there are some other coaches that I don't want to fail to mention that had a profound impact in my life. One of which is Coach Peacock, Ronnie Peacock. The other is Leif Caden, Chad Harbison, Harry Escalante, and especially Rob Gray. And I don't want to fail to take the opportunity to look even to my junior high years at Oakdale, Ray Keller and Daniel Ramsey. All of them were tremendous men, individuals who I look up to. And so that decision to come to Rogers and to be a Mountie was indescribable. And there have been many blessings, some of which that have come far beyond football. And one of which is, I'll go back to the conference championship game of my senior year. We're playing crosstown rival Bentonville. And here we are, we're living out that dream, playing in front of over 5,000. At this time, it was between 10 and 11,000 for the conference championship. ESPN was doing a special on the game, so there was so much focus around the game and all the things that could be said that were going on. But little did I know, there was a special someone on the other side of the field. That's right. Went to Bentonville. And that's okay. At that time, I had no idea who she was. But that woman would someday become my wife. The greatest gift that God has given me. So, I'll just conclude with this. It was always my passion to make Christ known, and I hope that I did. Because the salvation that he offers gives meaning to everything that I did. I thank you all for this opportunity. I love you. Thanks to the coaches, my family, and Rogers High School. Thank you.
Well, I had a little knee procedure last week, and Mr. Givers was my sub. And I didn't know the rule about not using the elevator because I kind of got attached to it this week. But Monday I'm going to hit the stairs, Mr. Givers. He is there more than most teachers are. We're so excited to have him there. I am very honored tonight to introduce to you and present to you Miss Angie Cannon Milford. Just some background on Angie. In high school, she played 4 sports. As a coach, like Benny said, that's unheard of today. She played basketball, volleyball, cross country, track and field. She was a member of the 1987 state runner-up cross country team here at Rogers High School. She was 4A West all-conference in basketball and volleyball throughout high school. Coach Eford and I were new to Rogers High School the time she was playing, and to watch her play was phenomenal. I still remember watching her play games. But then she went on to play basketball at Auburn. She walked on as a freshman, receiving a scholarship her remaining years. She got to play in 4 NCAA tournaments, including a national championship. She's 3-time academic All-SEC, named All-Tournament at Hilton Head Tournament. After Auburn, she was assistant basketball coach for 4 years at Shorter University in Rome, Georgia. And she was 2 years head coach at Oglethorpe University in Atlanta, Georgia. Then she was the head coach and teacher at Darlington High School in Rome, Georgia for 9 years. She gave up basketball to become a full-time mom, and she was able to coach her 3 boys in every sport that they were in. Now this is kind of where I pick up with Angie. She started racing triathlons, and this is where it gets really good. She is a 3-time triathlon All-American and 3-time gold-level top 1% all-world athlete for triathlon. She competed in the half Ironman Worlds in Australia in 2016 and Worlds in Chattanooga in 2017. In 2016, she had a world athlete ranking for her age group. She was ranked 10th in the United States, 15th in the world. This is kind of where I picked up with Angie, because in 2016, she would come to visit in Rogers, and she remembered Coach Eford and I, and she would bring her boys and say, hey, they need something to do for 2 weeks while we're in Rogers. And Coach Eford's like, sure, bring them on out, we'll run them. So I got to meet her boys and actually be with her boys some in the summer, and they're amazing athletes as well. So also, I will add, she was training for Australia when she first came back, and I was just impressed. I would miss part of practice. Just, okay, you did all of this before 7 a.m. I've ridden 50 miles already. I'm like, wow. I asked her, we were talking yesterday, she's 47 years old, and Coach Eford, I'm pretty sure she could beat half our team, and they're pretty good this year. She's amazing. She has she picked up off-road triathlons this year, and she's qualified for Xterra Worlds in Maui. She currently lives in Tallahassee, Florida, and she coaches at McClay School cross country and track and field, and she is the head coach for the Big Bend pole vault. You know, what's cool to me about Angie is she's done so many amazing things in her life already, but what to me is so impressive is she is a Rogers High School alumni, and she is giving back to kids into her community where she's at. As a teacher for 31 years, I was counting over here, I had like 4 of these guys on the front row in math. I'm like, oh my God, they've got kids and grandkids, I need to retire. But as a teacher for 31 years, Coach Eford and I, we like to count and talk about how many kids that we have coached and taught that are going back and coaching and teaching our young people, our future generation. And it is so impressive for us to see that she is not maybe digging into people in Rogers, but she's doing it where she lives. She's making a difference. She is positive, she is encouraging, she is motivating, and she is just so much fun to talk to. You can tell with Angie, she really has a passion for what she's doing, and we are so proud for her to be getting inducted into the Hall of Fame tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Becky. First of all, I'd like to thank the committee for this honor. It really is a big honor for me. I'd like to thank a few people for coming out. First, I have a couple teammates. Got to thank Jamie and Holly. Also, got to thank Jody, who is here. When I took my first coaching job, she's a graduate of Rogers High School. Also recruited her to play for me in Rome, Georgia. So that was really cool. Now she lives back here also. I want to thank my family for coming out. My Aunt Cindy, my cousin Carol Sue, my brother John David, all graduates of Rogers High School. My whole family has graduated from Rogers High School. Thank my dad for the love and the discipline that you taught me growing up. Got to thank my wonderful husband for him, and my other Aunt Barbara, who's a graduate from Rogers High School. Those two nominated me without me knowing about this, nominated me, and I got the phone call about being inducted and very surprised because I had no idea. So thank you, James and Aunt Barbara. I know there's a lot more talented athletes that have come out of Rogers High School, so it is truly an honor for me to be inducted. As Becky mentioned, and made me sound really good, thank you, that I've probably done a lot more in the last 10 to 20 years of my life than I did in my first 20 years here. For the last 20 years, I've been married to a wonderful husband, and we're blessed to have 3 amazing boys, of which I must say, each has won a individual state title, and I like to tell my husband that comes from my side. As I was thinking back on my career at Rogers High School, it makes me realize why I do what I do now. I still love coaching and I love competing. My kids, my athletes, or my own children know that I'm very competitive and very passionate about what I do. I love seeing a kid succeed. I love seeing them accomplish something that they never thought they could through hard work and through putting a belief in them, that you believe in them. And that's the big thing. If you believe, if a kid knows that you believe in them, their limits can be endless, and that's what happened to me. Talking with Paul Boyd from the newspaper a couple weeks ago, I talked to him and told him, I really don't remember games. I don't remember, I do remember talking about old Elmwood Gym. I remember shooting at the old Elmwood Gym. I do remember that now, but I don't remember really games. I remember people. I remember memories. One of the big things, I remember always being in the cage before and after practice, which is in the locker room where we always hung out. I remember being in the cage. I do remember running line drills, suicides. I do remember that, unfortunately. I remember being in volleyball and going to games and having a big boom box blaring AC/DC. So things like that I remember, which kids still listen to today, which is amazing. I remember, and there might be somebody else in the audience here that might have been with me on this, I remember toilet papering Coach Brenda Alexander's house, and then having to go back a couple days later to clean it up. That was not pretty. Thing about my team, Jamie Raines, who teaches here now, always laughing. Whenever we're Jamie Raines, always laughing. Things that I remember, I always remember the smile on the face of Suki Millspaw. That's something that I'll never forget. When I think of who made me, who molded me, I was thinking, there's names that came in my head. And what's interesting is when I was here visiting Becky yesterday, I came over this way to see where we were, and I walked by all the pictures of the Hall of Fame, and the names, the people that I think who molded me, every one of them is in that Hall of Fame. And that says something of who they are. Cher Sherman, she was my basketball coach when I was in 6th grade. She was a person that inspired me. I fell in love with basketball because I wanted to be like her. She was an amazing athlete, one of the best athletes to ever come out of here. Went on to play college and everything. I wanted to be like her. She put that love for basketball in me. I think of Barney Hayes and his family. They meant a lot to me and my family, and Barney and his mother was just the most beautiful woman I've ever known. And they always meant the world to me. They always supported me. Kermit Womack, always on the radio, every game, on the sideline. I remember him just whether he'd give me a wink, a thumbs up, or words of encouragement. That meant a lot to me. When I think of Coach Carl Neeford and Becky, they came in probably my junior year. I didn't even run cross country anymore. And I think I had Coach Eford in a class. And whatever he taught me in that class, I think it might have been a computer class. Really weird, I don't know computers, my husband knows that. But what he taught me, he left an impression. Him and Becky left an impression on my life that lasted a lifetime. That they inspired me to be a better person. So to me, that's what's important, making that difference. I've always been proud to say that I'm from Rogers High School. People ask, where are you from? I'm from Arkansas, from Rogers High School. And I've always been proud to say that. And in a way, I'm thankful that, I never won a state title or state championship, but what that did is make me always want to continue to work hard. And I still do. I love that. And I hope that I can instill that in all my kids, the hard work ethic, that it pays off. That is something we talk about, you don't see too much today, that they want it given to them. So I hope that I can instill that passion, the competitiveness, and that passion, and let kids know that I believe in them. I think that is huge. So, so thank you to Rogers High School, all those that supported me and believed in me for making me who I am today. I thank you for that, and thank you once again to the committee for this wonderful nomination and for selecting me in the Hall of Fame. Thank you.
Okay, what a great group, huh? Let's give them one more hand. All right, so just some quick closing remarks. Class, if you'll stay up here, we're going to get a class picture as everybody else is exiting. Reminder for all Hall of Fame members, we would love to have scrapbooks, pictures, everything we can get to load up onto the kiosk. And Hayden, I see you. Anthony, are you in here? Those two guys right there are our heroes for being able to handle all that. And they're doing that in their own free time and as community service. So appreciate that, but we want to get that thing loaded up. And if you haven't stopped by there, please do. It's very easy to use. Reminder to see Sean Lee also for contact information, please, and get that. And then everyone's invited to go out the doors and to the other end of the commons. We have dinner for those that are able to stay. I believe it's Catfish John's. And so whoever can do that, please stay, and we'll continue to visit and fellowship together. And then the football game will be starting here shortly. The Mounties are playing Van Buren. It's a beautiful night for football. And so if you brought some rain gear, get it out and go out and cheer on the Mounties tonight. So that concludes this part of the festivities. So please, if everybody would exit out and go on down and get something to eat. Thank you.